And let's get started with top 247 linebacker Malik Bryant. He is rated the number 5 linebacker per the 24/7 Sports and also the number 90 player overall. Drew, what's the latest with Malik Bryant?
Well, Orange County, I think LA when we talk about that. So you can go 407, I-4 corridor, whatever you want. This is where all the talent, or most of the talent, is in the state of Florida in the 2023 cycle. Malik Bryant's a kid we've been tracking since he was a freshman at Orlando Jones. He's going to announce Saturday night. My crystal ball pick has been on Miami. I like the Hurricanes right here heading into Saturday, but you got to keep an eye on Florida. That's the two schools we keep hearing when I work my contacts. It's Florida, it's Miami. I think NIL is playing a little bit of a factor here, but I'm going to point out that Malik Bryant's head coach at Orlando Jones, he actually played for Miami linebackers coach Charlie Strong years ago at the University of Florida. I think that relationship's ultimately going to help tip things in favor for Miami. If there is a dark horse, though, in all this, I think it's Maryland. Maryland, Mike Locksley, they've done an excellent job. They got 2 of Malik Bryant's teammates currently committed to the Terps. So if there's a dark horse that could jump in the 11th hour, keep an eye on Maryland. But I'm rolling with the Miami Hurricanes heading into Saturday.
So the Hurricanes looking strong for top 247 linebacker Malik Bryant there. But let's jump to another guy in the Orlando area, 4-star offensive tackle Peyton Kirkland. And Drew, the more we read into this one, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster. Miami, Florida, Oklahoma, all involved here. What are you hearing on Peyton Kirkland?
Another guy who's been on the national recruiting scene forever, 2-3 years. He claims over 50 scholarship offers from schools around the country. He's got a top 5, and I think a lot of people think it's Michigan State or Miami, but I want to toss a third school into the mix here, and probably a school that's going to have a lot of people surprised. That'd be the University of Texas. There's a little bit of buzz kind of generating behind the scenes. Kyle Flood, Steve Sarkisian, they were previously recruiting PK, as they call him, Mr. School of Hard Blocks. They were recruiting him to Alabama. They're obviously now at Texas. So if there's one school out of nowhere to keep an eye on, it's Texas right now. But this one could go anywhere, any direction. It's been all over the place throughout the recruiting process. Florida's been in there. Oklahoma's in there. Alabama, like I mentioned before, he worked out for the Crimson Tide in early June. So still a little too early to call. But don't forget about that burnt orange. A lot of kids want to play with Arch Manning these days now that he's headed to Austin. So I think UT is a team to watch out for with Peyton Kirkland heading into his announcement on Saturday.
I started getting some phone calls late afternoon, people trying to figure out where Peyton Kirkland is going to end up. And that is going to be a wild one for sure. So if you're trying to catch those commitments, those will be on CBS HQ on Saturday. Malik Bryant and Peyton Kirkland, that's where you can find those guys, Drew. But another guy in Orlando, 3 for 3 in Orlando, top 247 defensive lineman Cameron James, and a guy that I know both me and you like a lot. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, it's crazy. You could drive from Kirkland to James to Bryant all in about 20 minutes to their respective high schools. Cameron James, high upside prospect, guy that me and you really, really like, and someone that doesn't do much of any interviews. And, as I was going through the rankings in the state of Florida, trying to figure out, hey, who are my big fish still out there? Cameron James is a guy we don't know much about. Talking to his high school head coach this morning, Travis Gabriel, who does an excellent job, he told me that Cameron is planning to be at Florida the last week of July. Remember, there's a temporary break in the dead period. Then kids can take unofficial visits. You can't take official visits. So he's going to go to Florida for the little barbecue on July 30th. And I think the Gators are the team to, I don't want to say beat, but I think they're maybe in the driver's seat. The biggest competition right now for the Gators is going to be Kirby Smart and those Bulldogs. Cameron also was in Athens last month for an official visit. Trey Scott, the defensive line coach, you know what they're selling. Hey, we just got 5 defenders selected in the first round of the NFL draft. So 2-team battle, I think right now I give the slight edge to Florida. And then there's some other schools to keep an eye on. There's some strange schools, little stranger things. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, 2 schools that have been involved in this recruitment from the jump. Both those guys develop guys, get them to the NFL. Charlie Partridge, a huge favorite of mine, well plugged into the state of Florida. He's done an excellent job. And then Luke Fickell and that Cincinnati staff were actually the first school that ever hosted Mr. James on a visit. So 2 outside schools involved with a legitimate blue chipper.